Welcome, iPix viewers. Have you ever had that uncanny feeling that someone, maybe your partner, knows exactly what you're feeling without you saying a word? That they can walk into a room and just sense that you're stressed, happy, or anxious? You might think it's intuition, a sixth sense, or even mind reading. But what if I told you the answer is far more tangible, rooted in biology, and hiding right under your nose? Because in many cases, women aren't reading minds, they're reading molecules. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating science of how women can, in a very real sense, smell your feelings. To understand this incredible ability, we first need a quick tour of the human olfactory system. When you breathe in, you're not just taking in air. You're sampling a complex chemical soup of odorant molecules from your environment. These molecules travel up your nasal cavity and land on a small patch of tissue called the olfactory epithelium. Here, millions of specialized olfactory receptor neurons are waiting. Each receptor is like a lock, and each odor molecule is a key. When the right key fits the lock, it triggers an electrical signal. This process is called odor transduction, turning a chemical message into a language the brain can understand. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Unlike our other senses like sight or hearing, which take a more roundabout route through the brain's thalamus, olfactory signals have a direct, high-speed connection to the limbic system. This is the brain's ancient primal hub for emotion and memory, containing structures like the amygdala, which processes feelings, and the hippocampus, which forms memories. This anatomical superhighway is why a whiff of a certain perfume can instantly transport you back to your high school prom, or the smell of freshly baked bread can evoke powerful feelings of comfort and home. Smell and emotion are not just linked, they are physically hardwired together. So, where do the differences between men and women come in? Research suggests a few key factors. First, brain structure. Some studies indicate that, on average, women's brains may have stronger or more numerous neural connections between the olfactory processing centers and the emotional and social cognition areas of the brain. This could mean that the conversation between smell and feeling is faster and more detailed. Second, and perhaps most significantly, hormones play a massive role. The female hormone estrogen has been shown to act as a powerful modulator for the sense of smell. It can increase the number of olfactory receptors and enhance the signaling pathways, effectively turning up the volume on scent detection. This isn't constant, it fluctuates. A woman's sensitivity to smell can change dramatically throughout her menstrual cycle, often peaking around ovulation when estrogen levels are at their highest. This has a clear evolutionary logic, potentially making a woman more attuned to chemosensory cues related to mate selection during her most fertile period. This leads to a difference in what scientists call detection thresholds, the absolute minimum concentration of a scent that a person can perceive. Study after study has shown that women, on average, have lower detection thresholds for a wide variety of odors, including many of the specific chemical compounds associated with human emotions. They can literally detect fainter smells. Now, let's look at the evidence. This isn't just theory, it's been put to the test. A landmark study published in the journal explored this directly. Researchers collected sweat samples from a group of men under two conditions. Once while they watched a scary movie to induce fear, and once while they watched a neutral documentary. Female volunteers were then asked to smell these samples. The results were striking. Not only could they distinguish the fear sweat from the neutral sweat, at a rate significantly better than chance, but brain scans taken during the experiment showed that smelling the fear sweat activated the fear and empathy circuits in their brains. They weren't just identifying the smell. Their brains were beginning to mirror the emotion. Another study from Utrecht University investigated positive emotions. They collected sweat from men who watched clips designed to induce happiness. When women smelled this happy sweat, they displayed more genuine smiles themselves, as measured by facial muscle activity. This suggests that chemosignals for positive emotions are also being transmitted and received, promoting social bonding. A third area of research focuses on mother-infant bonding. Within hours of birth, a mother can identify her own baby from a group of others by scent alone. This powerful olfactory link is crucial for attachment and caregiving, allowing a mother to detect subtle cues about her baby's health and needs, like hunger or distress, purely through smell. It's a primal, life-sustaining communication channel. So how does this play out in our everyday lives? Let's talk about stress sweat. When you're under pressure, your body produces sweat from two types of glands, The eccrine glands produce the watery sweat that cools you down, but your apocrine glands, concentrated in your armpits and groin, produce a thicker, milkier sweat filled with fats and proteins. This stress sweat is initially odorless, but when it's broken down by bacteria on your skin, it releases a cocktail of volatile organic compounds. These are the chemosignals. For someone with a highly tuned sense of smell, that subtle shift in your body odor is a clear, unconscious signal that says, "I'm anxious." The same goes for fear. As the studies showed, the chemical signature of fear can be transmitted through the air. It might not register consciously as the smell of fear, but it can put the receiver on a higher state of alert, making them feel uneasy or vigilant without knowing exactly why. It's a subconscious warning system. On the positive side, bonding cues are constantly at play. The unique scent of a loved one can trigger the release of oxytocin, the cuddle hormone, promoting feelings of trust, comfort, and connection. This is why smelling your partner's t-shirt can be genuinely comforting when they're away. You're tapping into that deep, olfactory emotional pathway. Of course, the real world is noisy. Our personal chemosignals are constantly competing with environmental confounders: the cologne you're wearing, the garlic you had for lunch, the pollution in the air. This is why the ability isn't foolproof. It's a subtle signal amidst a sea of noise. Now, it's crucial that we bust some myths. This is not a supernatural power. Women are not psychic, and they cannot literally smell your thoughts or intentions. The idea that someone can smell deceit or guilt is a step too far into fiction. What they are tuned into are the faint, involuntary physiological byproducts of your emotional state. They are detecting subtle biological cues, like the specific chemical signature of stress-induced sweat or other pheromone-like compounds that your body releases without your control. It's biology, not magic. We also have to acknowledge the role of culture and socialization. From a young age, girls are often socialized to be more attuned to emotional and nonverbal cues in general. This social conditioning can train the brain to pay closer attention to all subtle signals, including scent, and to become better at interpreting them in a social context. So it's a combination of biological predisposition and learned skill. So, what are the practical takeaways from all this? First, basic hygiene matters. Regular washing removes the bacteria that break down sweat into smelly compounds, giving you a more neutral baseline. This allows your natural, subtle chemosignals to come through without being overpowered by stale body odor. Second, be mindful of your environment. If you want to connect with someone, a clean, neutral-smelling space is better than a crowded, smelly bar or a heavily perfumed room. And go easy on the cologne or perfume. You might be masking the very signals that facilitate subconscious communication. And most importantly, don't rely on scent to do all the work. This is a subtle, often unconscious system. The best way to let someone know how you're feeling is still the old-fashioned way: use your words. Open, honest communication is something no amount of chemosignaling can replace. So, let's recap the bottom line. The idea that women can smell feelings isn't magic. It's a real, subtle, biological phenomenon. It's based on a direct neural superhighway between the nose and the brain's emotion centers. It's enhanced by hormones like estrogen, which can lower detection thresholds, and it's supported by evolutionary and social pressures that favor being attuned to subtle cues for danger, bonding, and caregiving. It's not about smelling thoughts. It's about detecting the faint chemical echoes of emotions like fear and happiness. So the next time she looks at you and says, "I can tell you're upset," before you've even said a word, maybe trust the nose. It knows more than you think.